Oh my God. Thank you, whatever you are in the word. Oh, the day today, like we say, is a very open day. Human rights education, the essence. Well, just thank God again for giving us another day and making us probably again part of the living. And as I think is something that some pray for, but they can or could not actually uh, see it. And so, one thing, for those of us who are out there, I want to say you are most welcome to again another time in our presentations and human rights education is very important and very essential. In other words, when we talk about human rights education, we talk about probably the rights uh, of and responsibilities here of the community engagement. And I'm, kind of overwhelmed about those different programs on domestic violence, and we talk about last week of human trafficking, which is very prevalent with Dr. Walker, which will be on our show uh, on the assignment. We also want to thank again Dr. Unika Shell, who also was part of that wonderful presentation last week. And I just want to encourage us because we are not just driving this boat or probably saying that we want to do whatever we're doing. Prot is a kind of passion that we must have first before going into human rights or going into advocacy, because it takes probably a man or a woman to do what probably most of our people are doing. And thank to six Dr. Ree, who also is just for a show, and Cicero and all these great people who I bringing the word to you, because um, people need us every day. People need just a word, of encouragement. Some I involved in some job, trying to advocate for the rights of people, but there's no support and lack the responsibility to go through some of the things we go through in a daily basis. And not all of us can ready uh, be patient or walk towards our goals and aspirations in life. But again, I want to thank God first for the grace He gave us to persevere. And what we do here is about humanity. And I want to thank all my buddy, my friends, probably out there. This is the time, or we talk about human rights education. And no matter where you find yourself as a keynote speaker, or probably in the areas of consulting, God is so faithful. And, he's not just doing the impossible, but He's working up great things. And, when we talk about human rights, we come back to the essence. What do you think? When we look on the Facebook and see people that have been domestically abused, like the lady in Liberia who, well, her boyfriend wasted acid water on her only because she decided to walk away from that relationship, rights and responsibilities. So we look at the global issues and what obtaining in the world today, then of course we realize that we need more education in human rights. It's not about just talking it. No, it's about actions. And because the community engagement global mission, actually, this is a sacrificial job, but this is a job for our community. This is a job for people who are voiceless in our society. So we become voice for the voiceless is all about our show. And why it is true that to become voice for the voiceless in our society, you must have a passion. So it's not just about coming on Facebook and talking about it like people that are, making an effort. Sometimes you find yourself into a certain community, certain environment, a certain culture. And, when you look back and see some of the guys right there in Nigeria, you see what happens with a husband and wife, uh, while the other guys stick together. And there are a lot of stuff going on. And well, sometimes you look at the fact that the person who is lying down on the bed stick together have rights and they have responsibilities. It's so ugly to see another woman going to somebody to say, if my husband go down in the little on the bed with another person, let them stick together. Well, those are facts that people don't know the essence of human rights, and they need to understand that the next man right ends here and your right begins. So the fact remains, as pastors and leaders, our responsibility is to give you the word of God. Your responsibility is to accept Christ. As the human rights actors, our responsibility is to give you the information you need to know your rights and to know your responsibilities. So, when we look at the essence of teaching human rights education in the world today, and a lot of us, if not all of us, are not aware about human rights education. Article 18 about thoughts, freedom of thoughts, and the Declaration of Human Rights, we cover human rights thoughts, human rights assembly 19, and you can name all the different articles, and people can brainstorm it and talk about it. A little baby can recite it, but the essence is not just to recite it. The essence is to apply it the same way with the Word of God. There are people who can talk about the Word of God. Oh, they can preach. Probably if you give them the time, they can name more than 50 or 1,000 scripture to you. So it's not about the way people preach or the way people talk about human rights. It's about the application. You see, the community engagement, as we engage people, as we talk to people in our communities, coming up with this connecting the church to the community summit, which is going to be virtual and also in person. I want to sign it out here to all of us. This is all about driving this thing to the level where we thank God. It's not just going to accept it, it's not just going to see it and give us more motivation because it is the grace. But the essence, let's look at the guy, let's discuss the issues of this guy wasting water on his spouse. That girl belonged to him. Let agree, right? If they were married, even if they were married, right? They don't have the right, even if they were married. Unlike the woman who, go and cause the guy to stick together, even though you guys are married, but it's not your right. You see, society that got into the place, in fact, forgetting about the scripture, and not knowing that one person decides to walk out of the relationship. That is a big topic to talk about because it's going viral on Facebook. You see, the social media, they're giving us insight, giving us the opportunity to share it, whatever we have, our passion, driving us to something. It's so good for us. But on the other side, well, if we misuse it, then it becomes something that we ourselves not appreciate. Why? It is truth that these things been going on. Some women would say, well, this thing been going on in my home, and I think that's the only solution. This guy been lying. Well, okay, I agree. But if you kill this guy or if you kill this woman, what is the essence? So I agree that we can never be the same when it comes to the way we think. Okay, but I think, well, when it comes to human rights, even in the biblical sense, even I know some religion would do it and throw stone at a woman who were caught in adultery. Well, it's the old laws. Now, when the Bible speaks about vengeance is not ours, well, it talk about, well, the same thing when it comes to human rights. That person, two of them that is lying on the bed, has the right to a choice. But the choice they made, it is the consequences that they were going through when that thing happened to them. They found themselves stick together. But the question to that woman and the question for all of us as we discuss the essence of knowing your rights and your responsibility are to make choices that helps you to be released from that position. If you then wanted to keep that position, then of course two things you do for yourself, and I want to advise in my own layman or probably understanding of experience that whatever relationship you find yourself, you have rights, you have responsibilities. So your right is to express it to your spouse. Well, okay, if your spouse doesn't want to accept it or take it, two things you guys keep talking about it and read it. You know, that's why we talk about a godly or a God-fearing person. I understand that love is so dangerous, and when it comes to craziness, kind of in the brain, and a lot of stuff going on. But the point that is so important is, let's agree that you found yourself into a love with somebody, and well, okay, then the person really, you guys in the house together, and this person decides to play fire all over the place. Well, I agree that it hides, especially when you're in the relationship for some time. You don't want to just leave it, and you want to make something to happen to the person that is into your relationship. The women are very dangerous when it comes to that. Even men, some men don't want to see somebody touching their wife. We have those kind of spirit inside of us. Sometimes we get jealous over our wife to the place that we don't want to see them around. But sometimes we do. People do that because, well, they love the person sometimes, but that is not love. You don't destroy a woman because she says she doesn't want you. You don't destroy a man's life because he says he don't need you anymore. The question about how we see the education that people gave us on social media. Are we growing into our relationship with our spouses? Are we respecting each other as we go through our time? Or probably are we looking up to giving up because, well, somebody told us, well, okay, I don't need you in my life anymore, and we're going to go and commit suicide to ourselves or try to damage the whole family. So the essence of human rights education is very important because it's to broaden and open your minds to take responsibility of our culture, of our society, of our community, of our home, of our wife, of our children, if we have not done it before. So to engage people constructively with means to tell them about the things that will help them to develop. If we have the opportunity to help them, we can. If we don't have the opportunity to help them, well, okay, we can either walk away from them and think about how we can do another thing or help another person if we can. But again, don't destroy them. So you could be thinking that you're right to do something. He wasted the boy, wasted the water on his girl. I mean, the acid water on his girlfriend, who decided, well, okay, I don't need you again. I have to walk away from the relationship. She has the right to do that. So, but if we don't understand rights and responsibility, then of course the society we live in, we keep doing the thing over the again. We repeat what we're doing, and we are not going to change our society. So it is true that we get into situation. Well, okay, the situation is bad, and well, we can get over it. We can get under it. Everything is going head to scatter. Especially those of us who cannot pray, those of us who cannot believe God, in order to walk away from something and believe God for the greater thing. See, I agree that sometimes we suffer with relationship, sometimes we go through a lot, but when you look at your rights and you look at your responsibility, then of course you take constructive decision. You make decision that if you have children, you'll be looking at the future of those children, and you'll be looking at your future, and also you'll be looking at the future of the man that you're trying to destroy, or the woman that you're trying to destroy. That could be a help to you with the children. Probably if you have walked away from her and not even harming her, I think it would have served, it would have made a big impact into her mind. That she could come back to you and say, oh, I think I was this guy. Prove a point to her that you love her, okay? Even though she says she doesn't, and she walk away, but prove a point. And then after proving the point, because that's her right to make a choice. Why it is true, she also responsible to make good choices, but she has rights. You too, as a man, have your right. So when you come to the place and see that, well, okay, life is not pleasant in this relationship, I see that we might have made a mistake getting together, or probably there's something about the relationship. Maybe we need to ask God for direction. So asking God for direction will help us to develop in our mind the reason we came together. And if that reason is not defined by each of the partner, then of course the essence of being together will be for nothing over the years. You guys will just be there struggling, and one person is being out of. We talk about our generational curse, and you see when we talk about human rights, every man has a right. They're entitled to the right. It is an entitlement to every individual. If that right cannot be protected by law, and there is no guarantee by the state, then of course it become a problem. So we talk about the issues of the government coming up with some principles, some of the things that in the first 100 days we see some good things, but again, we stay looking at, because let me tell you something, the community engagement is not about any government. It's not about, well, okay, this government is the best, that government is not the best. No, it's about the fact that if the people matter is not in the center of the discussion of any government, then of course we think that would not be in the interest of the people. So anything that is not in the interest of the people that we represent, then of course we need to begin to adjust our objective, adjust our schedule, our time, whatever thing that we involve in order to promote the rights of people. So when we talk about human rights and responsibility, we talk about there are people who just decide that, well, they have the culture, they want to make this culture, this lifestyle, to be a lifestyle that people will inherit, even though it was not originally the plan of God or originally the plan of that land. So the fact remains that the land has its organic law. And well, okay, we want to change the law because probably our organic law is not in the interest of, according to the new generation. Well, it has to meet the consensus of every citizen. So the fact we have rights to do it, we are responsible to make good choice. And sometime in society, we found out that people, I probably kind of make decision for for the whole country by, well, bringing laws into the House of Senate or Representative, to think, well, okay, this we have to pass it because there's a brown envelope up there that we're going to be receiving each $20,000. So they pass the bill. So now it depends on the lobbyist or the people who are there for the people to talk about the issues of those bills that would not be in the interest of the people. So human rights, yes, it's an entitlement, but you must have well, the not only the political will, but you must also have the motivation, the passion for doing what we're doing. Because, and I say, with the United Institute, we're a very big institution that makes some impact in the life of people. But I always tell some of the guys, well, okay, we learned, we got the certificate on our walls. Certificates is on the walls, like you see on our walls here, on the background here. It could be on the wall. So that certificate represents what you did, but that certificate does not represent you in your application to what you did. So should I wait for that? No. So you must apply efforts. So human rights is rights and responsibility. Community engagement talk about rights and responsibility. My responsibility as a human rights consultant or advocate is, look, I agree that a group of people want us to actually patronize them or make their laws in order to pass a law that will make them to be legal in our country. The fact remains that there's also responsibility. So the fact remains that they decided to make choice, right? And the choice they have made, I gave several examples in some of my presentations. Let's agree that the choice was made by the guy to live a life feminist. Okay, not originally the way he was born. And this guy decided to live this life and have this lifestyle. And after many years, he want to get back home. But in this culture, in this environment, the people say, well, no, we can't accept this guy because he was a guy when he left us. Now he coming like a female. In our culture, it looks funny when the people in our culture see this guy. They're not going to allow him to enter their place. So we don't want to destroy this life. So, but then advocates who are supposed to be responsible people, and the community engagement is going to be talking about these things because it's destroying cultural barriers and fabrics of our society. The reason why the society is dying and things are happening and going down to the church is because people have overlooked the thing that will destroy the fabrics of the society forever. So community engagement is, look, this is serious. This is not about joke. So when this guy goes to that community, that their culture that he left 10, 15 years ago and came maybe to the West or somewhere and develop and make a choice. He made a choice. He has rights, he has responsibility. His responsibility is to make good choice. If you want to go back home, the choice he should have made is to remain as he was and to be a developmental person or someone who is carrying knowledge, but not carrying baggage or something in order to cause the society to fight. So in the absence of chaos is peace. So in the presence of chaos, it's war. So the questions about human rights, the essence of human rights, education. Many of the guys up there who probably I preaching human right, all of us need to understand that we are placed in the center of something and discussing human right in a very equitable, balanced way. Not in the sense that we are looking at the money, we're looking at the projects, we're looking at everything that will make us to do what we might not be able to do only because there's something inside. But yes, it is inside for us because we are advocates. We must be paid for what we do. We agreed for the work we do. I agreed some of the things that we are pushing and going through. We understand that, well, God is going to do it. God is going to give us the insight. God is going to bring it. But why it is truth that this person, go back to the story, left this country, went back home after 10 years, but went back with a different lifestyle. Now expect the people who he left in the culture that is decent to them. They don't want to see a man who was a man to act like a woman. That was their culture. So those of us who are listening to the sound of my voice, think about it, think constructively, ask yourself the question, whether this guy has a right to go there, or whether any human rights or advocates have the right to advocate to force this guy to go in our community, or this lady, or whoever. Now, the reason why society needs to understand and really to engage this situation is because it's becoming chaotic and it's going to destroy our culture, our future, the future of our children. And one of the book I'm writing, Human Rights is Not Optional, which is something that we all know about. So if you want to make it balanced, let's agree that in the sense that, well, okay, our wisdom is the ability to make you use the knowledge. So when you go back to see Solomon looking at the two women coming with the children, one of them after sleeping and lie down on her child, and the child died. Took the dead child, brought it to the other woman, took a living child, and then the living child with her. And then they went together. She said, "No, I know my child. This is not my child." And went with a living child, and Solomon looked at them and said, "Okay, I'm going to cut it into pieces." So, okay, no, don't call it. The mother of that child said, "Don't call it." The one who did not born the child said, "Yes, okay." So, in order for us to use wisdom to begin to shape our society in the right position, we must not look in the face of one who is wrong, who should be responsible for the choice they made. That you take the burden, the consequences is coming, but then you want to throw it on the community that have nothing to do with why you make those decisions. Chaos. So you go to the community. Now, there's some project that we have to get. Maybe, okay, we pump in this money. Lord, we need to allocate in that area to accept these people in there. Well, we agree that we need to advocate for them. Advocate for everybody. Why? Because they are human. They need to live their life. Nobody needs to take the life of anyone because they make choice. But here is where human rights and responsibility comes. This is why the essence of human rights is very important, the teaching, and people who understand what human rights is all about. But Jesus called the woman, made them stoning that woman, about to stone her. He said, "Did any one of you who actually have not seen, you got to throw the first stone." He advocated for her. That was advocacy. Throw the first stone. So what am I saying? Is why the truth that she's going to bear her consequences. Why it is true that the consequences that are coming on this guy who have left for 10 years, going back home with different lifestyle. Then we, the human rights actors, our responsibility as human rights actors is to have to be like this on the side of the community, on the side of the people who have changed their lifestyle and want to go back to the people who believed that they must preserve their culture. So, in other words, these people who believe that they must preserve their culture, have decided to be renewed. And they don't want to go into something that has a propensity to destroy their culture. So accepting the people is good to accept the people because they got to late, but they got to understand that they don't have to go back in the middle of the community. Why you think so? Because those people who preserve their culture have right to preserve their culture. And because they preserve their culture, they want to protect that preservation of human resource and other future damage to their children to come. So the enemies, we need to look at the both, spiritual and physically, we must be balanced in our pursuit. The community engagement actually is not just about joke about, well, okay, we're just talking about the community because we know we need some money because when this project is very a fact, my man. Remember, as an experienced person who have been in this thing from my young days, I have witnessed a lot of talk discussions with leaders. Some of the things that giving the world problem today is overlooking the simple thing that cause chaos in our community, in our culture. We become our several problems, several matters, tribal issues, because we fail to solve that little problem that spark out in that family. We fail to spark out, to solve this problem that a little gender-based violence or whatever stuff, or the guy living his 10 years of state in another country, have another lifestyle, live a culture that don't believe in our lifestyle, go into that culture in that lifestyle, and you expect that culture to accept you. That is not human rights. That is not human rights. The responsibility as a person who believe that you were made in the purpose of God, and you left your community that have a norms, a value about their culture. They want to preserve it. And then you come somewhere and attract some lifestyle, going back to them to say, look, I come and I want to live here. God forbid. I'm not going to tell you have right to live there. Well, your responsibility is to respond, is to be constructive in your response to that culture, understanding that you belong to a culture, you came from a culture, and you can't mix your culture life up. So then you went back and you expect your parents to accept you in a house with 10 children living, or 5 little children, boys and girls living in a house, to look at you as a person who now have become feminists. Think about it. This is not joke. We are in a culture that people are probably, we can't do anything probably to, like what the other guys are doing on the other side in Nigeria. You can't do it in America. In a culture, find yourself. You can't do it. Why? Because it's a culture. It's a different place. People right and respected it. They want to defend themselves. They're not going to allow you to destroy their marriage. They're not going to allow you to intrude into the relationship. They're going to something happens to you. You don't understand what's going on. So the way we are presenting human rights, the way we present it in Africa, the way we present it is not the way we present it all over the place. There's a cultural difference. So you can preserve your culture because your culture did not allow this. You have your right. The United States of America have the culture, they have the system, they have every values. So I would accept the fact that my culture, I respect my culture, and I'm not going to come and adopt another culture and go back and allow and think that my culture will accept me, and if they did not accept me, then they're wrong. No, they are not wrong. They're where the debates comes when it comes to rights and responsibilities. So if you want to protect human person or be very neutral in your discussions on human rights education, you must be very careful about how you discuss the conflict resolution or in disputes, or probably things that comes out to confuse the people because it's confusing. So you don't agree with the fact that, well, this guy need to go back home because probably he belonged in Africa, or he belonged in the West, or whatever country he belonged to. The fact remains that where he came from originally, they believe in the norms, in the culture, in the values that they agree never to turn it back to, never to compromise. So if you want to allow them to compromise, then you want to incite chaos. United Nations did not sign the declaration because they didn't want to resolve problem. They want to resolve the problem. So how can you be the one to resolve the problem, but then you want to put fire before you resolve the problem? Then it becomes complex. So as we begin to learn and increase in our knowledge of human rights education, the essence for this is to open the eyes of people. Disability rights, we're going to be talking about disability rights next week, Friday. Coming up with the disability is one of the bigger topics in our program coming up, taking the church, making the church disability friendly. It's going to be the topic. We see that every one person has a right to live. The fact that this person are disabled or physically challenged does not mean in any sense that they don't have the right to liberty, to social justice, and to everything else when it comes to equality. The difference is they don't have the same probably physical movement or the ability to do things. Doesn't make them to be isolated for things or to have no job, to just to forget about them. No, they have a space equally. Probably let agree that making the church disability friendly, which means looking at the steps that people claim to come in church, looking at some of the places in the church. What are some of the things that you see that is not feasible, that is not accessible for the people who are disabled, especially physically, maybe their legs or they cannot walk? So we can make the church disability friendly, visually looking at the video, probably maybe they don't see well. There are things that we need to develop in order to make this thing equal, because we have people among us who are disabled. Whether they come to church on Sunday morning, whether they don't come to church on Sunday morning, that's why we're going to be talking in our connecting the church to the community summit. So this is all about driving out this thing and driving it constructively. It's not just about, well, okay, we have this show and we don't want to present our case. It's about doing it equitably. So I'm not going to accept the fact that this community we say no. We're not going to accept it because the culture we live, and our culture. But now we see that if you come into our community, we got our children, and we got people who is easily able to join you. There are people in our community that are weak-minded. So it become a problem. So when we talk about human rights education, going back to the top and going back to the horse, lobbyists and people who push bills, this is a fact. I can never be, my conscience will never be clear if I tell you, well, pass a bill that will tell you, well, okay, everyone that live in a lifestyle, well, okay, let's accept them in our society. Nobody have the right to do anything to them. Well, they have right to do anything they want to do because, well, that their lifestyle, let's leave them alone. Well, okay, we agree. But the country should not pass a law that will give them credence to do it. But the country to pass a law that will make people to respect them, not to destroy their life because they did it. Making sense. Because listen to me, when you pass a law, you are telling the world and the person who is involved or the people who are not involved, it is good to do it. It is good to do it. So what happens, or what will happen to that society, is that even children who went to school will be they're gonna be thinking, well, if that was wrong, why did our forefathers sign it? So you don't make laws that will be inconvenient to our society, to our future generation. We cannot insert laws that will give credence to something that was not originally the plan of God. One, originally probably the plan of the norm of the community of the culture you find yourself. Except with the technology differences and something that will develop your country, something that will develop or make impact in the life of the people, not something that will degrade and destroy the fabric, the legacy, the ancient landmark, whatever religion you belong to. You have a culture. So what happens is that when we make laws for people who change, maybe their body language or their sex or whatever, we are telling the world that it is good for them to do it. That's why you make law, to develop. So if anyone makes law to actually destroy the fabric or the culture of any society, then of course that person needs to ask themselves, what is the essence of making law? You see, wisdom is the ability to make good use of knowledge. And that's why many of us, if not all of us, are going astray, because we might have all the education, but fail to apply wisdom. So once you fail to apply wisdom to the knowledge that you have, what will happen is you'll always be in error, because what happens to you is that you allow things that you think is right for our society. And in other words, it's going to damage the future of the other children or people who are actually in that society. And all you think it was good. So like, let us agree. Let us agree that I have an assignment, and my assignment is to talk about human rights and the actions of human rights and promote human rights to the best of our ability, not on one side. So when you respect people's rights, you also protect their life. You don't promote their rights and don't care about their security. So if this guy, who is maybe 2 or 3%, decided to go back home, but they're going back home with a different lifestyle, and the society that is already telling you we don't need it in the society, and then you say no, they have to go. Remember that rights and responsibility is one. The other people that are saying no, they have the right. The other people that are saying we want to go, they also have the right. So what is your most kind of decision, the most relevant decision that is going to be in the best interest for peace as you look at that kind of situation in conflict resolution? We're going to be talking more about it next week. But again, this is a very big topic, and because we are not seeing it to be dangerous, but it is eating the fabrics of our society, because people is not looking at those facts. Thank God for Ghana. Thank God for other countries. People are not looking at the facts. They are not looking at the future. So if you make a choice to be, well, the way you want to be, that's your right to make a choice over your body. We're talking about the abortions. Why would you abort a child that is in your belly? Mama, don't abort me. They might be crying in your belly. They have rights. They are speechless. So we advocate the Children Assisted Rescue Mission. Actually, when you go back and see what the vision I have back home, It's about advocating for the rights of children to education, good health, and protection from the belly. So the same way you felt when your mother, before your mother bought you, that child has the right. Prevention is better than cure. So if you know you don't want to get, don't go to bed. Prevent it. Reproductive health problem. They got a lot of education. We're going to be actually creating and launching this with the summit, in the date of the summit. And that would be some of our advocacy here with the community engagement and the Redeemed Christian Church. Why? Because there are people out there who need education. They come to human rights. So I want us to, as I get closer to my time, begin to think about what are those things that makes your rights relevant, and what are those things that have no essence if your rights will be denied. So, in other words, if you will be accepted in your society, think about it. Why should you be accepted in your society? Because your society really don't like that lifestyle. Are you safe to be accepted in your society, or force yourself in a society that don't like the lifestyle that you are carrying in their society, that you did that originally had? Think about it. Those of us who probably find ourselves into making decisions, human rights activists, and those of us who are pushing for lots of advocacy and trying to promote people's rights, let us protect the people equally, not be unjust. It's going to be unjust to not respect the people with disability. It's going to be unjust not to also respect the people who make choices to preserve their life, because they make those choices based on what they thought was good for them. The consequences have to also be borne by them, even though they don't want to bear the consequences. But that's the reason of decisions. So if you go back and see now, going back to your community, the people who say no, why they say no? Do they actually have the right to say no? Yes. Are they wrong to say no? To say no without yes, they can be wrong. Some which want to say they're wrong, but in what way they could be wrong? So human rights education, the essence of human rights education is to tell the people in the world, or the people in your community, or in that school, or the woman who actually have been going through some time of trials and tribulation in her life, because somebody is domestically abusing her, is failed to what? To come out. So as to be the voice for the voiceless, I'm here today, right? I'm talking about disability rights. There might be voiceless in our society. So this is not about just, there are some culture you can talk about, well, bring these people pictures, or go to the nightclub or to the hotel and show the guys lying on the bed and, trying to damage the other person relationship, trying to intrude into people's marriages because, well, that's a different digital world. Okay? But you can do it in some culture. I bet you sometimes even right in the state is very difficult. The reason is because you are destroying somebody's future or life. You are intruding into somebody's relationship. Not everybody going to let you go. In Africa, maybe they're going to throw something on you or do something to cause it to be nothing, because you destroy their marriage or you destroy them. Well, I'm not backing or either trying to say, well, the guys who were called lying down or stick together did well by cheating on his wife. No, not what I'm saying. I'm not equally saying also that the woman did well. The lady who brought the medicine and trying to make her husband to stick together to anybody that he goes around with. I'm not saying she's right. She make choice. So why it is truth that he's not supposed to go out to cheat, or the other lady who is a single lady, or maybe a lady not supposed to agree with him, why should I say that? when people make choices and the feelings that they want to express. As a man of God, I say it is same in the presence of God. I agree. As a human rights activist, I agree that he make choice. I also agree that she make choice to go to bed with him. Never know that a woman who was married to him have gone to say they should stick together if they ever met. So she want to satisfy her desire because her husband is, well, cheating on her. She have the right to do what she want to do, but her right was not to go too far. So if you do that to a human being or to a person who, well, said the death do us part, it's not a binding covenant. It's not a binding covenant. It's a covenant that death do us part, but it's not a binding covenant. Because one person could turn to something else, a change in the relationship. So when that person change and you realize that it's not going to work for you, then of course you have your right to walk out of it before you remain nothing. Nobody can stop you with that. Now, when it comes to the Bible argument, many people are not understanding, don't understand the Bible, the truth of what Christ was saying and kept saying. Why did he say? Because of the hardness of your heart. What makes your heart hard? The hardness of the heart of either partner. Divorce and gave us certificates of divorce. Don't let them go with all certificates. That was clear. But people don't understand. So this woman keep doing things, or this guy, they do things that I maybe would make the other partner to feel, well, embarrassed or miserable. Life is just not going anywhere. Every time she do everything, no appreciation. He goes all over the place to all the women in the community, making his wife like a small girl, to make her shame on the street, insulting her. So she keep being in that relationship. So that one day while she walk in, she just fall off and gone, only because she worried about the issues. So, it's a big topic on the side of Christianity, right? But it's also very important for their rights. So I'm saying in my conclusion that the woman who did that don't have the right to do it. But she have the choice. She made choice to do it. Okay? She cannot possess another person to the place where she will make that person to die because the person make a choice to go with another woman. So this is serious in our country, in our world, because people are jealous. People make decisions. So I want to say thank you for listening. Thank you for the time. And those of us who listen to the sound of my voice, I want to advise you and say, join us in our conversation. It will be tomorrow. We might be here, not exactly, I think it should be 5 o'clock. We're going to be coming up talking about the issues of Liberia, especially the mandate of our president and what we're obtaining, what those things that were said, and what is good for the country, and what to think about it. Let's talk about these things and let's see. Let's put our own input, pray with our leadership to make the world a better place is something that we all need to do. And I want to say to you, that you have a responsibility to think right and to do it right. Don't forget that your responsibility should not end today. It should continue. Do the right thing